episode 46 of Strange Bow Radio. I'm your host, Tobe Johnson. Today's guests are extended experiencers of Sasquatch interaction and maybe something more. I believe there's something more, and so do these two. So who am I talking about? Rich Germeau, ex-deputy out of Washington State, had quite the fascinating history with the subject matter and still possibly does. He's dipping his toe back in, and that's who we're talking to, as well as witness, philosopher, teacher Sonya Zohar. That's the show today. So we go way down the rabbit hole with these two witnesses at the Manresa Castle. Oh, by the way, sponsorship brought to you by Manresa Castle. Type it in, book a room, historic haunted castle in Port Townsend, Washington. You won't be sorry. ManresaCastle.com. All right, we'll be right back with our guests, Rich and Sonya from Manresa. Our guest today is Rich Germeau and Sonya Zohar, both extended experiencers of the unusual, Sasquatch, the paranormal, and the attributes that surround the deeper question of what the heck is going on here. Rich Germeau used to be Deputy Germeau, and with his law enforcement background, he experienced the brunt of his interaction, still quite possibly does. Sonya, on the other hand, is a philosophy major, a teacher, and has a unique philosophy as to what could be going on and what has happened with her. She's been all over looking into the subject matter, flies pretty low on the radar, so you may not know her name, but you might be familiar who she's worked with, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go along here. So, from the Manresa Castle, in what is known as the Green Room, Rich and Sonya. We're at Manresa Castle with Rich Germeau and Sonya Zohar. And let's just start with that. So we're all into the question here, what's going on with Sasquatch. We have our own theories about this, and we've had our own interaction. Sonya, I've heard a little bit about yours. Rich, I've heard more of yours because you've been, I don't know, is it fair to say you've been more open about this too, Sonya? A little less so?
A little less so. I think a little less public, that's all.
Okay, so, and there's a reason behind that.
Yeah, it's funny, we just said, ultimately it's because there's a lot of dissension within the Bigfoot community, and a lot of attacks and a lot of hearsay and a lot of gossip. And I know we get that in every field, in every endeavor. Any sort of scientific endeavor, there is competition and whatnot. But it just seems unwarranted for me in this endeavor. I mean, we're all lay people. We're not hardcore scientists. There are very few hardcore scientists that are involved in this study. And so, you know, in my estimation, I would imagine that we would all be very forthcoming and sharing. And that's not the community I experience. But so I don't really publish, and I don't really go online and all that. But I am a very active researcher. And I will speak publicly, and I enjoy doing things like this. Yeah, so I don't have links and bios and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're hard to find. I mean, I had to go through a couple of people to find you.
Yeah.
So have you been attacked?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you've experienced it.
Yeah, right when I started, the BFRO put a very non-true article about me. And I was okay with that. Like, I'm fine with criticism. But I reached out to them and said, hey, you know, this, I don't mind you critiquing my work. That's fine. But there's just some key points here that you're saying that are absolute falsehoods. And could you remove them? And then I got an email back from Matt Moneymaker just saying, did you not audition for my show? And I've never met him. It was just a very odd encounter. And there were a lot of comments on that site that were really derogatory. One was a death threat. I mean, it's Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot.
Right.
You know, and having a name like Sonya Zohar, you can find me anywhere. I'm not,
right.
Yeah. You know, it's not like Jane Smith. Like, where does Jane Smith live? So I do keep a low profile. I don't like that kind of drama. I don't like that kind of antagonism. I'm not really sure why someone would be so upset that I research Bigfoot that you would have to write so many derogatory things, and especially like something like a big endeavor like the BFRO and finding Bigfoot. Like, why would they reach out to me? I'm just a girl in the woods, you know?
What do you think it is?
I don't know. You know, we were asked that at the conference. That was a good question. There is sort of a conspiracy theory in general in the Bigfoot world that people intentionally try to sabotage other people's works to keep the truth not prevailing in this situation. I don't know that to be true, but it is kind of odd. I do find that there are people in the endeavor who spend more time making fun of people researching or casting dispersion on people's research rather than just putting forth their own research. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but I do find that in any endeavor. I mean, you can watch. This summer I just watched a physics panel with all kinds of physicists from all over the world talking about different theories like the string theory and whatnot. And there were two competing scientists on the panel, and you can see they had a rub. So it's going to happen in every endeavor. But I don't really care to necessarily participate, and I really did feel targeted, like right away. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you talking? Who are you?
Right.
And then this
You almost have to like kiss the right ring in order to get yourself through these little, webs of resentment or competition.
Well, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. All we're doing and all Rich has done, Rich has had an experience and he's reporting those experiences, and I've had experiences and I'm reporting those experiences.
Right.
And we're both equally, well, I wouldn't say that. I can't speak for you there, but ultimately I'm just fascinated with the topic, so, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So as far as Rich, you've experienced this too?
Experienced what?
Well, I guess the backlash from being...
I don't think so. Not me.
Well, maybe not in the Bigfoot community, but certainly...
I haven't experienced any backlash, really. Outside of it, possibly some from people that don't really know, or people maybe that don't really know me personally.
Mm-hmm. Hold that mic. Keep it
right. People that don't know me personally.
There you go.
But I don't think anybody's really challenged me too much or said too much negative about me as far as... Mm-hmm. I'm pretty straight up, and so if they know anything about me and my background and everything like that,
and we should mention
they want to challenge my credibility. It's kind of difficult to do it, so they just kind of stay away from it. And you don't. I mean, the thing about me, and I got into this whole thing, wanting to really be the one, kind of. It was a distraction away from what else I was involved in my professional career. And everything like that at that time, and that's kind of why that I actually got into it. And then Derek really pushed me hard because he met me, and I think he was trying to form something at that time on his own, and he was a BFRO member at that time, and so I became a member of the BFRO and got access to flats, and then once I got access to flats, and I guess really, my involvement in everything that came out in the Olympic project and all that stuff was probably because of the BFRO and because of flats.
Just speak a little bit louder into the mic.
Now, I was just excited to talk about the ranch,
the
Gorman Ranch, and I wanted to go back to, what was his name, the gentleman that got kidnapped we were talking about earlier?
Albert.
Albert, yeah. Albert, and Ron talks about this, Ron Moorhead talks about this in his book, and it's that the gentleman who took that report, there's a discrepancy about where the gentleman says he was, and then the time frame in which he got back. And it doesn't make sense from when he said he left that group of Sasquatch and where he came out, which would, nobody can find where he was, basically, really, from his account of where he went and how long he traveled. And so there is an essence that he was somewhere he doesn't know where he was. You know what I mean? Like, he got taken somewhere where they really can't figure out exactly by his account where he was. So there's an element to it of losing time, losing space, maybe going through a portal, coming out of one, because there's plenty of people who say that he could not have physically gotten to where he was from where he had been abducted. Nevertheless, that was just something interesting to know, and Ron talks about that too. It's interesting to know. Why was he so specific that he said, no, I was here, and then I went to this point, And everyone's saying, well, that's really not possible. But he specifically said, no, I was taken here and I got to this point. So something had to have happened. Something happened with the space, because it's not adding up. With the Gorman Ranch, I don't like to ever say that name, the other one, because they are there, right? And they are a dark energy. And I do believe the native, you don't want to talk about them.
Right.
And I do get the sense that with them it's something, and it's the same with the Sasquatch too, right? And the UFO and all this paranormal information that we're talking about. Nietzsche was right. If you stare into the abyss long enough, it stares back. And I'm an empath, and I know that to be the case in my life, and it took me a long time to even acknowledge that I'm an empath. And what that means is that I have a sense about me that, like, if something is haunted, I know it. And I've always avoided that because of exactly that thing. Once you look at something, then it knows you're looking at it. It's intelligent. It's two ways. There are two types of spirits. Although there are two types of spirits on the planet, there's the type of entity that just gets trapped in an emotional blockage, and you can be privy to that. It's actually not conscious, but there is another type of energy that is absolutely conscious. And that would be the type of energy that creates poltergeist, for instance. And I do have that a little bit of a wall up. Like I said, this whole thing earlier in the story about the alien stuff, I'm like, that's great for other people. I have enough on my plate with Sasquatch. I have enough on my plate being an empath, because you are necessarily, when you engage in this phenomena, you're inviting it. You are inviting it to your sphere, to your home, to your consciousness. If I were to stay, let's say, here, I'm sure this place, just given by the looks of it, I haven't felt anything, but I'm sure this place probably has some haunting in it. Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. And you can tell when you drive up that it does. And if I were to stay here for a while, that energy would make itself known to me. So even with the Sasquatch, I think that actually benefits me being an empath, but it took me a long time to even acknowledge or even admit that that was my experience in life. Right. And for those reasons. So going back to the Gorman Ranch, one of the things that the humans, which is so funny about this, right, so ironic, is that all the people that have been there have been fearful of those experiences, right? Like, there's one story that George Knapp relays at the very end where the couple of the Gormans were out and they were tagging their new calves.
Yeah.
And they had walked to one end of the pasture. They had just tagged a calf, and they walked to one end of the pasture with their dog to tag a second. And when the dog made a large bark and they looked back, and then their dog supposedly took off, and they never saw the dog again. And they walked back, and that calf had been entirely mutilated when they were there. But the go-to, the natural response is to be freaked out about that, right? Wouldn't you just be a human, be, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God?
Well, yeah, because what would do that you want to be friends with?
But here's the thing. If that thing would ever happen, did that to that calf, could it not have easily done it to the humans and the dog?
Well, Rich's point that it has. I mean, if we're looking at what's going on with David Paulides, I mean...
No, they're abducted. I'm talking like mutilated.
Right.
And filleted right there, right? So I'm actually not so afraid of that. Like, I want to know what that is, because the potential to harm me is there, correct? But
right.
the physical result is actually, it didn't harm those humans.
Well, the people that are taken, and you brought this up too, I mean, what's worse, to be taken and be disposed of and God knows which way, or to be splayed out on the farm? I mean...
But we could be talking about different entities, like I said. A lot of different beings, right? I don't know who did that mutilation.
But it's the type of omniscience that serves something other than good.
Well, I would definitely say that about the walkers, because the Native Americans have said that, right? And they talked about the Dark Valley in that.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some darkness going on there. There's some darkness, for sure.
And this is in the Four Corners area between Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, right?
Yeah.
That's where J.C. Johnson is doing a lot of.
Oh, J.C. Johnson, right? He passed too. Yeah. So there's independent researchers in these areas here. I don't know if. Yeah, I mean, traditionally these areas are called like spots of the fawn. They're all over.
Right.
You
and,
gotta
and there is actually, it's almost like a kind of a Bermuda Triangle-ish
Right.
area where all this happens. But again, the happening like that,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm just standing here and now that thing is gone. I know I would be really freaked out. I was freaked out with the deer in my yard.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is it didn't. I don't know why. That was a communication. Like, I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm intelligent and I can do things that you can't even do.
You can talk. What's that, Rich? Okay. Why don't we take a 5 or 10 minute break, and then we'll come back, everyone? Okay, let's take a break. This year, make it a Ferrule by Aaron Christmas or Yule. Imagine above the hearth an empty sock. Stick a Ferrule by Aaron rattle inside that baby. Underneath the tree, what do? I don't know. He or she loves interesting alchemy sound tools. Oh my gosh. Get an elk-hide drum, or a bearskin drum, or deerskin drum. Or, if you have a Christmas spirit that lingers, and it's this time to shuffle off to Buffalo, you may want to look at smudge fans. Ferrule by Aaron has beautiful, crafted museum quality, and I mean that, alchemy sound tools. That's at Ferrule by Aaron at Etsy.com. So hang up a piece of mistletoe, get online, and make Ferrule by Aaron your one-stop shop. Strange Brow Radio wishes you and all your family a happy holiday, beautiful Yule, and a Merry Christmas. All right, thanks again to Rich and Sonia for spending the better part of 3 or 4 hours with us at the Manresa Castle in the green room, which is also their awesome historic bar. You got to check out the menu at Manresa Castle. And you can take a visual tour if you like, because this is also a video. If you want to watch the video, you can do that. Like I said, I'll put out a teaser, and you'll get the idea. And then you can join our Patreon page. There's lots of stuff on there already. It's only been up for about a month and a half. And there you'll find extra podcasts and extra video. For now, much more coming in 2020. So go to patreon.com/strangebrow radio. BRAU. Why? Because we love you. Also, don't forget our sponsor, Ferrule by Aaron at Etsy.com. The holidays are coming up, and you got to do it right with some alchemy sound tools. Ferrule by Aaron, ERYN. And why don't you book a room? Why don't you? At the historic Manresa Castle. Just get out there already. You've seen it on Ghost Adventures. You know the story. Some of you don't. Those that don't are learning it. It's an amazing haunted castle in the historic town of Port Townsend. So check it out at the manresacastle.com or the Castle NPT, castleINPT.com. All right. We will be back next week with some more strange goodness. I am headed out the door, well, maybe, for Thanksgiving. We'll see. I'm going to try. If I don't, then I will just be working on the website. That's it for now. Goodbye, and I will see you in the trees.